Everyone, this is me, Aditi Prakash's, Madeline Liu's, and Sam Shirmali's stock market 2020 portfolio. So basically, our strategy for what companies to invest in was to invest in companies within the umbrella of ESG. We wanted to put a particular emphasis on investing in goodwill companies, meaning companies that are trying to do good in the world and solve issues like climate change and more recently the COVID-19 pandemic. So all of our companies fell under one of two categories, either vaccine companies or sustainable energy companies. We wanted to invest in clean energy because climate change is very important right now. It's very prevalent. It's definitely a focus for a lot of companies, and many people are trying to combat it. And sustainable energy seems to be a popular method. So it's in very high demand, and that means that their companies are going to be doing well. We wanted to invest in vaccine companies because, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, a vaccine would be in very high demand. And this means that their companies making them will definitely be doing well. And supporting these companies who are researching and pushing to release safe and effective vaccines would definitely support these companies in funding their research processes, which is a good cause.
So one of the first companies we decided to invest in was Johnson & Johnson, and we had an overall net gain of $54.67 with it. We decided to invest in it because of its involvement with research for a COVID-19 vaccine, and we thought it would be a great company to support and benefit from. We kept it for a long while, but we decided to sell it because its price was super high after being down for a long time, and also because other companies had already announced their COVID-19 vaccines.
So another company that we invested in was NextEra Energy, and we had an overall net gain of $23.12. We bought NextEra Energy because, again, we wanted to hit the emphasis on clean energy, and that was an aspect of the company. We ended up selling it because we didn't see much potential in the stock. It was pretty much staying the same for a really long time, and we wanted to use the cash we could get from selling it to invest in something with more potential.
We next bought Regeneron because of its development of a COVID treatment that we heard of, but unfortunately the research fell through and they didn't make any gains afterward, and we sold it losing $1,634 after the price being really down for a long time. And we realized that they had been overshadowed by Moderna and Pfizer, so we knew that the price would not go back up.
The next company we decided to invest in was SunPower, from which we had an overall net gain of about $758. We decided to buy stocks in this company because of its involvement in solar power for clean energy, but we sold it a little later because we didn't think its price would go up anymore, and we wanted to get a good value for it.
So we also invested in Tesla, which we had a net gain of $5,738.47. We bought Tesla because, again, it hit the emphasis on clean energy, and all prediction that we read showed Tesla was going to go up, and it was recently down a little. So we wanted to buy it when it was at a low, and we knew it would go up for sure. We ended up selling it because we weren't sure how much more we were going to be able to gain from it. In hindsight, we should have kept it because although it fluctuates, Tesla usually does end up growing up and growing.
Next, we invested in Chubb Limited, which we initially didn't know very much about, but we were optimistic about the prediction. And ultimately, it was a very good investment, but I think that we could have held on to it longer and possibly made more money. But we made just over $2,000 in profit over a little under a month.
So what were your reasons for investing into this company, and what was your research? You said like you were not sure what it was.
We found out that it was a company that was focusing on providing insurance for different companies. So it was a little bit outside of our original categories for what we were searching for, but we liked what we learned about them, so we decided to invest in their stock.
Okay. Can you focus on one specific thing that you liked about the company?
They focused on providing insurance for smaller businesses, I think mainly in Europe, which is a little different than what we were focusing on.
Okay.
But I like that they had certain areas that they were looking for in the companies that they were providing insurance for.
Mm-hmm.
We also bought Guiled Sciences, from which we had a net gain of about $362 because it was working in the COVID treatment business and working towards medical advancement. But we sold it right after its price stopped dropping, and we thought that it was a bad investment for the future.
So we also invested in Ocean Power Technologies, and we currently still have the stock. So we've lost about $1,317 from it. We originally bought it because it was a clean energy company again, and we wanted to hit that emphasis. It was also involved in communication and remote offshore applications. It was a penny stock with lots of potential. Unfortunately, we bought it while it was at high, so we have lost some money, but we thought we could keep it and hopefully it would go up and gain money.
We rebought Tesla again, luckily at a lower price than what we had sold it at, because we learned that Tesla would always be growing and innovating. So it was a good investment to hold on to over time. And currently we're still holding it, and it's grown over almost $300 over the past month. And we've made a profit of $11,595.
So overall, through October 15th, 2020 to January 8th, 2021, the S&P 500 return on investment was 9.8%, and our portfolio's return on investment was 17.9%.
So ultimately, we did better than the S&P because we decided to invest in a lot of companies that aren't really affected in a bad way the pandemic, or ones that did better because of the pandemic, such as vaccine companies. And vaccine companies would be profiting off of the pandemic because they have the vaccine and that's in high demand. And the energy companies we invested in, they weren't really affected by the pandemic because energy is still essential to living. And although the pandemic affects a lot of aspects of life, climate change is still occurring and green energy is still going to be used and it's going to be in demand. However, the entire S&P factors in all sorts of companies, including ones that are severely impacted by the pandemic in a bad way. And I think that ultimately brought down the S&P growth. So I think going into this stock market thing, we were not very knowledgeable investors, but we took calculated risks where we thought we would pay off. And we ultimately had an ROI of 17.9% in just a few months. And that's nearly double the S&P 500. So we learned from our mistakes. And if we were to be given another $100,000, we would invest it wisely using what we learned and make another substantial profit.
We also learned that it was important to invest in that would either profit off of or not be negatively impacted by current events. So in our case, it was companies who were focusing on clean energy or working on some sort of development of a COVID vaccine or treatment. And our biggest gain was obviously Tesla, because as we know, Tesla is always consistent in its growth because of its continuous innovation. And it's also in high demand because a lot of people enjoy and support their products and their focus on providing a clean energy alternative to motor vehicles. And our biggest loss was Regeneron because we invested in their company when they had first announced that they were working on a COVID treatment. And we thought that it would likely be the first to push out and be successful with that treatment. But unfortunately, as time went on, Moderna and Pfizer came out as two front runners, and Regeneron was quickly overshadowed. and the price dropped rapidly.
So, in case of vaccine companies that you talked about, like you had a couple of investment, Johnson and Johnson and Regeneron. What do you think went wrong with your research, or would you still back up your research and say that okay, these companies may come back with a better vaccine or better results, and you would hold on to it? Or was that completely you like to take the loss? I see that you already sold the stocks. What were the reasons for selling the stocks?
I think specifically with Regeneron, they kind of fell through the cracks and their stock price was really dropping rapidly over just about a month and a half that we bought it. And if this stock market game had been over a longer period of time, it might have been worthwhile to hold on to, because there's a possibility that they may come back and come out with a treatment in the future. But with the time frame of this game, we didn't see it necessary or profitable to hold on to it. And we would have rather invested that money into something else.
Okay. And considering Tesla out, how much profit have you guys made? I know Tesla was completely overshadowing the market, but is there what do you think if it was not Tesla, what would have been your gain in percentage?
Tesla obviously was the majority of our profit, but without it, we did make quite a bit with Chubb Limited, which initially we weren't as excited about or as
Mm-hmm. And what were your price targets on Tesla? I see that you got in and got out. And many of the stocks I see that you have invested and traded it out. What were the reasons that you wanted to get the profit or book the losses and not go for the long term? Was there any specific reason you decided to do that?
I think that we ended up selling some of our stocks because with this time frame, we thought that the stocks might fall through, and then by the time we got to here, we would have made a loss. So I think we could have kept it, but for fear of the stocks dropping and us losing money, we wanted to just sell it and get the money from where it was right there, because we didn't, for the companies that we sold, we didn't see them going any higher than what it was.
Okay, so you thought you reach your price target and you wanted to get out of that. Second thing is did you guys in your stock portfolio, did you consider any geopolitical reasoning, in terms of the incoming Democratic government and outgoing Republican? So how it would impact your investment decisions going forward?
I think one of the biggest things that we focused on while investing wasn't politics, because I think we kept that in mind. We kept the election in mind and we kept both parties in mind. But what we tried to focus on was investing more into companies that we knew that directly could make a significant impact and significantly help us benefit from them. So I think we did keep the elections in mind, and we did keep both parties in mind, but we decided to focus on companies that we knew had a direct connection to sustainable energy or direct connection to vaccines for COVID. And we tried to keep those companies in mind and invest in those companies because we knew that they are making profit right now, and in the future they're probably also going to be making more profit.
Okay, that's good. You guys have any question for me?
I have a question. If you were to have been given these $100,000, what is something that you would have focused on or we should have known going into it.
So yeah, definitely like one thing which I'm looking for is as you guys focused on okay long term. Yes, the geopolitical situation can change, but definitely it does have the impact in terms of like see NGN, NSMG. Like we did talk about like the clean energy, so and environmental friendly companies. So I know like you guys focused on couple of sectors. I would have had like if you had considered like more sectors into this, some technology, some financial, and some kind of a growth infrastructure companies, as well as the these days happening things like alternate meat and the food industry. So those things I would have liked to see like more diversification. And but I think overall you guys did a great job.